We're always doing. We're always in this. So usually 4 events a year. We do two for high school, one for college, and then one for our but then on the side, I work small nonprofit because there's similar work. And so we're so we actually established an independent tolerance group. And so we're trying to learn. So we do similar to this now where they are high school colleges. That's about what we're doing. Part of the CRNA students, students, we all kind of get some and so that's kind of like it's very, very, very simple stuff.
Hey, Christian. Oh, yes, I didn't dress too professional. I just put business casual on. So,
I would have left work a little bit earlier so I could change.
Everything's going good pretty much right now. My only concern is, do you think we're going to need some more seats? Because we got a heavy attendance.
Yeah, but what?
A lot of people, so I didn't expect this. But I think it's probably going to be this group. I think we might be good. If right now I'm just sending out the Zoom link. Oh, YouTube link.
I like to get more seats anyway.
Oh, they're in the back.
Good, how are you? Here.
So we okay, for our speakers, we got Dr. Gore. I believe that's Evan Hicks from College of Medicine. Her name is Dr. Marlene Battles, the one with the braids. And that's Mrs. Redmond. That's the lady I've been working with that's talking to Isaac in a man in a blue suit. He's from AMDPA. She's from UAMS Regional with her friend. Okay, and that's pretty much our speakers who's here yet. We had one speaker who had to cancel because they missed their flight, so we should have 4 speakers. So 1, 2, 3. We're only waiting on one speaker. Let me see who this last person
I
is.
invited Chase, but or Tommy, as y'all know him.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure if he's coming or not. I'm thinking that he's not because he sounded unsure. Oh my God, we're absolutely drinking today.
We're only waiting on Dr. Miles.
It was so busy because everyone thinks that just because like this much snow is falling that they have to come and get like a lifetime supply of everything. It was just like this last time, and it's so irritating because I don't think it's gonna yeah, and I mean like even if it does, it's not gonna.
I'm sending out the virtual link right now.
We discussed right the flow, how it goes and everything.
Oh yes, Isaac created an agenda. Okay. After the panel was supposed to be a Q&A, but right now we're missing Dr. Miles. So Isaac, could you go pull Miss Redmond aside to see like if Dr. Miles is on the way? I don't want to start it without her. And then she shows up.
Is she supposed to be first?
No, they're all just gonna sit down right there, introduce themselves, and then we're gonna let people go and eat. Also, we can't get started because we gotta wait till they have the food set up.
Oh, okay. The food isn't set up.
I don't think so. I think he just has the heater trays out. So I guess we could just kill some time until our last speaker shows up, and then we have the food set up because the flow's supposed to go. They introduce themselves so everybody can know who they are. So if they want to talk to them, they can talk to them during the networking section, and then they eat while that part. That's going to last about 30 to 40 minutes, and then that's when we're going to start the panel. Excuse me, Mrs. Redmond. Do you know if Dr. Miles is on her way?
I don't know.
Okay.
So let's just assume she is. I did let her know what the time was, so maybe she's.
Yeah, I
giving
didn't want to
herself a little
start
grace.
without her.
But I want you to start. Like if you want to do a welcome,
Okay.
can you do that?
Oh, this is what we were planning on.
You said, can we?
Huh?
You
Can you
said
guys do a welcome?
Yes, this is what we were planning on doing. We were gonna let the speakers introduce themselves. So when we go into our networking portion, the students can come talk to the speakers they were interested in, and then they can go and get them something to eat. But I think we're still waiting for them to finish setting up with the food.
Exactly. So
Okay.
that's fine.
So
What you can do
we
is
can have
have
the
the students
students
introduce
introduce
themselves as well as the professionals, just so everybody kind of knows who's in the room. And then, hopefully by that time the food will be.
All right.
And if not, we could just start networking.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yep.
Do you
Does
need
that
the
work?
mic?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
So I think we.
I forgot your name. What's your name?
So I guess you can introduce yourself. We can tell them you'll be moderating, and then we'll let you say students, could you be seated? And we'll let them introduce themselves. But right now I see everybody's moving, so I guess we can give them about 3 more minutes before we tell everybody let's be seated, and then we'll do that section.
We can even tell them to get seated now.
Okay. Is that on? Okay. All right, I'm just sending out the virtual link.
So who's gonna do it?
I can get started.
Hello, everyone. Hello. Testing 1, 2, 1, 2. Good evening, everyone.
Evening.
I only heard about one person. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
There it is. So my name is Isaac Adeguraju. I'm the Vice President of Pre-Med Society, and I'll be basically just hosting today's meeting. So, but right quickly, we're just gonna go ahead and get started. So if I could ask everyone to kindly take their seats within the next few seconds, and we'll go ahead. We'll go ahead and get started with introductions. So we're just gonna go ahead and introduce, for students, that's gonna be a quick 30-second introduction, your name, classification, as well as your major. And maybe even like what health profession you plan on diving into in the future years. So what sector in health you would like to pursue in the following years. So we'll go ahead and start off with our president, Ahmad, and then what we can do is we can work our way around this way, and then end with our panelists.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ahmad Salam, and I am the president of the Pre-Med Society. Woohoo! Yes. I am technically a senior here at Philander Smith University. I'm a biology major, and I plan on going to medical school after I finish up here at Philander, and hopefully being a good physician. And I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I haven't decided on which field I want to go into, but I just know that's what I want to spend doing my life.
Hello again. My name is Isaac Adeguraju. If you didn't catch it the first time, I'm a senior here at Philander Smith University, majoring in biology, and my goal is to attend medical school after I graduate here. Thank you.
Good Good evening, everyone. My name is Christian Carroll. I'm a senior biology major here, and my goal is to go to pharmacy school after this.
Hello, everyone. I'm Sanaya Woodard. I'm also a senior biology major here, and I want to be a microbiologist once I graduate.
So this is the e-board for the Prevent Society. So let's give a hand to the e-board. All right, so we'll go ahead and get started with student introduction. So we can start again this way, and then we'll bring it around counterclockwise until we get to the panel discussion. So we can go ahead and start. Oh, yes, if you'd like. So remember, it's a quick 30 seconds. Again, a quick 30 seconds. Again, a quick 30 seconds. There's going to be name, major, classification, and if you can fit it in the 30 seconds, a fun fact about you, and maybe what health profession you'd like to pursue.
All right, my name is Hamlet. I am a computer science cybersecurity major, and my classification is freshman. And my side is audio engineering.
Hello, my name is Marquise Kyle. I go by side. I'm majoring in biology and chemistry. I'm president of the chemistry program at campus, and I am from the background. And I am also a student.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Sydney Hyatt. I am a sophomore majoring in biology, and I hope to become a doctor one day, a physician. I'm a military kid, so I'm from everywhere.
Hey, everybody. My name is Jessica Cook. I'm a sophomore majoring in biology with aspirations. And I'm going to support this.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Alfredo Luasubisa. I go by Taiwo. I am originally from Nigeria, and I am a freshman major in biology here at the University. I would like to become a project officer here in Latin America.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Zeno Jones. I'm a sophomore majoring in psychology, minor in biology on the student track. I am going to be a psychiatrist one day, and I have a very clear path towards it.
All right, attention, everyone. Attention. Sorry, I know the food is very amazing. Do we still need a few more minutes? Panelists, do we still need a few more minutes? Or all right. All right. So at this point in time, we're just going to go ahead and transfer into our panel session. So we'll be asking some general questions just for our panelists here. So I ask that all side conversations please be diminished for a few moments, and we'll go ahead and get started on this session. And afterwards, there will be a Q&A session. So if you have any questions, make sure to note them, put it on a piece of paper on your phone, so that you can ask them at a later time. So, all right. So if we could please give a hand to our panelists. All right. So here we go. So first, we're going to look into general career exploration. So the first question, and anyone can answer, or maybe each person wants to give an answer, that'll be fine as well. But the first question here is or let me say it this way, can each of you share what inspired you to pursue your current STEM career and how you got started in that field? So maybe that's from college or even as early as high school.
So I'm going to go further. It's actually really cool. Seventh grade, I can remember it clearly, I had the option to take marine biology versus regular life science. And this blew my mind, the activities that we did, that teachers took us to a whole nother level. They're
to dissect baby sharks at the end of the school year. So at the end of that, I was like, I wanted to do a veterinarian, because I like animals. I wanted to be a pediatrician, so like, hey, it wasn't that hard, it's just what else. But, so I did well, tried to do well in school, want to make sure I go to college, and then in college, I went to LSU, I'm back in Louisiana. Went to LSU, and I still wasn't sure whether to go to medical school or research. I wanted to stay in sciences. And I saw a sign on the little billboard, about IMS, Initiative to Maximize the Student Learning. And it was, and I was trying to know, but it allowed undergraduate students to have, minority students to have an opportunity to do research. And at the time, I was like, you know what, why not? They gave me $500 stipend, I'm going to do this. And I knew at that time that if I went down that path, I needed to, I should say, I wanted to make sure that I had a solid reason why I wanted to do it. So I said to myself, I was like, if I go down this research path, I want to do research that impacts people like my family, and my family who suffer from diabetes and obesity. So I chose the lab that studies research. And that was my turning point as to saying I wanted to go into research. I was in that lab for 2 years. After I was like, I want to get the PhD, but I was burnt out from school. So I come from a family of educators, and during that time, I also got a concentration in secondary education. So I said, we're going to teach. So I taught physical science for 6 years. And that was very rewarding, being with the kids, getting to see their eyes light up and getting their enthusiasm about science. And then around 5 years, I was like, okay, I'm telling my kids who are minorities, predominantly 89% minorities going to school, that you can be a scientist, but they don't know anybody around them that who is. So I was like, you know what, let me go pursue my passion. And I said I was going to do and become a researcher. So that's why I applied here at UNS. I went to a graduate program. I started in biochemistry molecular biology department, then transferred to the neurobiology development science department. I finished in 2020, a PhD, and then finished in that lab, stayed in that lab actually for postdoc.
Wow. Okay, that's the prime definition of being the change you want to see in the research immediate environment. Anyone else on the panel?
Yeah. So I was a little different. I actually started off as a nurse my whole life. So my parents were nurses. I decided I wanted to be a nurse. Thought it'd be really cool. Turned 18, went to nursing school. Me and my girlfriend broke up, and I was like, wow, what do I do now? It kind of happens.
Because she was a nurse?
No, it wasn't because of that. I was just like, I had a little chip on my shoulder. I just had a chip on my shoulder. I was like, man, you know what? I don't know. And I took a chemistry class, and one of my professors was like, yo, man, you're actually really good at this. Like, you can go do more. And I actually never thought about being a doctor until that point. And so I then went and I declared like a chemistry major, and I got a chem degree. And then, kind of got caught up, and I got a biology degree. And, but, I actually decided to still do 2 semesters of nursing school because my parents were like, nobody in the family's a doctor. One of this doctor ain't gonna work out because you got a full ride and you need to make some money someday. So I actually went 2 semesters of nursing school. Wow. My chemistry professors and my nursing professors were like, you gotta choose one. And so I was like, well, I'm gonna shoot my shot. And I chose medicine. And then I picked up a physics degree as well, so I took a real roundabout way. Wow. So I was a triple major. I did those things. Mind you, I started off with a nursing major. So I was not somebody that thought that I really loved science. I barely passed my high school chemistry class. I never thought I'd get a degree in it. And then I ended up getting here. So along the way, I realized that, wow, I really to do these things. I just didn't really have anybody that looked at me and said I could go do it. So the moment somebody told me that I could go do it, I went and did everything it took to go do it. And that's what kind of got me here to this day.
Anytime they ask, you mentioned you're here. Where is here specifically?
Oh, yeah. So I'm in medical school. Again, like I said, never thought I'd here. I'm near the top of my class. So I didn't, ace the MCAT. I didn't do, I didn't even think that I was that good at this student. I didn't have a 3.9 GPA. I didn't even ace the MCAT, but, I'm near the top of my class. I aced my boards. I'm applying dermatology, which is like the most competitive specialty. So all that to say, even if you don't think that you'll be the person, don't be scared of the journey. It seems like it's really difficult, but in the end, if you really put your mind to it, even if everything's not there on paper, you got more than you think. And so I didn't realize that I was going to be here, did not plan on it, didn't think I was going to be a doctor, definitely didn't think I was going to apply dermatology. And here I am doing all of the above. So.
So I'll share my story with you all. I was from the Delta area, Eudora, Arkansas, small town in Chico County, Arkansas, close to Louisiana. But I was always a sciencey type of person. I love science, love biology, love dissecting frogs. But I was afforded the opportunity to attend the National Science School in Hot Springs. And I could go there my junior and senior year. It was like literally being in college, being on college campus. So we lived in a hospital, an old hospital. But it was a great experience. From that experience, I was afforded opportunities to shadow different health professionals. But for the 2 years that I was there, I shadowed a general surgeon because I thought I wanted to be a general surgeon. But I'm left-handed, and I found out really quick that I did not have steady hands. But I had a life-changing experience that sort of changed my direction. When I was 15, actually 14, my mom was diagnosed with ovarian cancer. She passed when I was 15, but she had to undergo chemotherapy treatments. And so that's where my interest in medications was really sparked at that time, and just seeing the effects and learning about the chemo treatments that she was on and the effects that it had on the body. And so I went to college. I did a degree in biology. I moved to Dallas, lived life a little bit, was still always interested in medicine. But they didn't have a pharmacy school in Dallas. So I didn't do that. I taught school, actually was a school teacher. Taught for 3 years, retired after 3 years. Early retired. I discovered that I was not designed, or it was not my purpose in life to be a school teacher. I was a science teacher. And so I had an opportunity to move back to Arkansas. Life was life then at that time. Came back to Arkansas, and I applied to pharmacy school. I'm not your traditional pharmacy student. Was not your traditional pharmacy student. I was 30 years old when I attended pharmacy school here at UAMS in Little Rock. I did my 4 years, and from that I stayed the course. Graduated on time, never failed a class, and I've had an awesome career path, and it was built off of just the relationships and the people that I knew had launched my career into the different types of positions that I had. So that's my story. I ended up in pharmacy.
Yes, my turn.
Yes.
I wish my story was as intentional as everyone else's, but it wasn't. So I was really good at football. I know some of y'all probably don't believe me. The way you look at me. I led the state Arkansas tackles. I thought I was going to be in the NFL up until I was about 16 years old, and then life hit, and I realized that I was not going to be above 6 feet tall. So I need real. This is gonna sound terrible, but I saw a movie called Any Given Sunday, and there was a physician that was with the team, and I was like, I'm kind of smart. I do well in science. I want to be around sports. I'm gonna go to medical school, and I'm gonna be an NFL physician. That was my goal. My mother was a nurse, and so I kind of had some exposure to medicine. Did undergrad, did pre-med, went to medical school, and then started out with a plan to be an orthopedic surgeon. I hated surgery. I hated the idea of standing up for 5 or 6 hours at a time. It hurt my feet, didn't like it. And so I felt like I needed a new path. And what I realized was that I missed the game time feeling. like that moment when everyone looks at you and it's like 4th and 1 and you got to make a play to win the game. And I realized the people who I saw who really had to live that life were anesthesiologists. Because in the moment when something happens in the operating room and someone is dying, anesthesiologists best prepared people to save someone's life. And so that's when I decided to be an anesthesiologist. And then I did anesthesia residency, and I realized that anesthesiologists don't talk to people because everyone is anesthesiologist. And so I didn't like that either. I love the idea, I love the work, but I'm a little social. And so the way to combine kind of my passion for helping out people who are injured and using my anesthesia skills and being able to talk to people was via chronic pain. So I did an extra year of training, and I trained in chronic pain medicine. And now I've been at UAMS for 11 years practicing chronic pain medicine. I see probably the most complex pain cases in the state. People who've had multiple surgeries, who medicine's discarded, who really don't have a second chance at life. I'm back doing surgery again. I implant devices in people. I was talking to somebody about that a little bit earlier. Electrical devices, pumps, other things like that. And then for the last couple of years, I've jumped in on the business side at UAMS. And so I run about 65 practices, physician practices at UAMS on the business side. And that comes full circle because I missed competing. And now, instead of competing in football, I compete against St. Vincent's and
Yes.
Wow, that's very interesting. All right, so the next question for tonight is, what are the key skills or qualities needed to be successful in your field? So I think there's some people in here that probably think you need to have the best hand dexterity, or you need to have a photographic memory of all the muscles in the body, but I think there's some better skills out there, better skills out here in our panelists that we would love to hear about. So what are the skills and qualities needed to be successful in your field?
I'll start. I'll say the biggest one I learned through the process is perseverance. A lot of times you think it's how intellectual students in the classes to be successful in the field. And it's like it's key and it's very important. But perseverance when you're told no a lot. You have to do that in research, right? Submitting publications, you got to learn to accept a no, how to switch around no to be able to get that grant out again, and get that publication out again. Because that's your bread and butter for this career. And it's a very tough field. It's a very tough career. I would say that. Another one, and maybe some researchers may debate this, but I think humbleness is another quality because it teaches you that it helps you to go to an environment you will learn. So, at one I was in grad school, both sides would tell me, leave your ego at the door. And that was very sage advice. And a lot of times I would think that either the problem or situation is messed up because of my fault. It may not have been my fault. Maybe it's been the agents at the time that weren't working. But also, it's leave the ego at the door. We go to the party for anybody.
Well, I'll talk about being a med student, and I'll let you talk about being a doctor. At this stage, I would definitely say, when I was in you guys' shoes, being bold and being brave. It's a scary process. You don't really know if you're going to make it or not. You don't really know if your grades are going to be good, all those different things, right? It's okay to be afraid, but you got to keep going. So even if you're afraid, that's what being brave is. You got to sometimes, like I was the only one that was becoming a doctor in my family. I told you guys that, my parents literally called me and were like, hey, I don't know if you really got what it takes to be a doctor. And I love my mom, but my dad, that was really a conversation. They were disappointed that I dropped out of nursing school. So at a certain point, I had to bet on myself education process and say, well, this is what I'm going to do, and we're going to kind of sit through. And it can be scary, but that's when you decide, okay, well, I've got to be brave and just go out and do this. And then be bold, take a chance, take attention to the hard class, you'll show a lot to people by not, don't duck smoke. Like it's a hard class, go take it. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to talk to the professor. Don't be afraid to get something wrong with you. Those are definitely the things that I would say help me get where I am. I think it helps you guys where you're at.
Right, as a pharmacist, I would say you would need attention to details, because if you don't pay close attention, you could misread a prescription for somebody that could literally kill them or cause harm to them, even by a slight decimal point on calculations. So paying attention to detail, I would say great communication skills. If you don't like to talk and you want to be a pharmacist, you're gonna have to learn how to talk and communicate with people. Pharmacists are one of the most trusted healthcare professionals out here. And people love to talk to you. They love to tell all their business to you. Come in and pull up their clothes and say, hey, this is what I got going on today. Look at this. So you have to be able to talk to people. Multitasking. It requires multitasking. You gotta be able to talk to people, answer a phone, you gotta be able to look at a prescription, tell your technicians, or help your technicians with stuff, so you really have to be a multitasker. Versatile, being able to adapt. Every day won't be the same. Even in my job, I'm not per se in a retail setting, but even in an office setting, my job is different from day to day, so you have to be able to adapt and adjust it. And my last thing, I would say you have to have empathy and patience. If you say I'm not a patient person, pharmacy is not for you, and I have no issue telling you that, because you must show people empathy. Again, they're gonna want to come in and say all their business, and you can't be so quick to turn them away. You have to have a listening ear, and again, have patience.
Yeah, I'll talk about two things that really help me at every stage. So the first one is really just work ethic. I've been in a lot of rooms. I'm rarely ever the smartest person in the room, but I guarantee you, when push comes to shove, I'll work everybody every room that perfect. And that has always carried me a long way, because if I need to put in the hours, I will. And I think that's always distinguished me, and people have always seen that in me. I would say the second one is, I would say I started practicing this in medical school, and it was really being intentional about my time. And what I mean by that is, I always found, especially when I was in college, that I would get caught up in these time sucks, where I would go to like the student center, and the next thing I know, 4 hours passed.
Yeah.
Right? And I started to kind of think about all the time in my day that I wouldn't say I wasted, but kind of went unaccounted for. Where I would like go somewhere and I'd be playing video games for like, I was nice and Madden. And I would play Madden for like 3 hours. And then it was like, dang, I meant to study at 1, now it's 5. Like, so I started to really take control of my time. And that did two things for me. One, it allowed me to really maximize my efficiency and work hard. But then it also allowed me to really make sure that I maximize my time also. And so that starts by, now we have, back then I had to have a planner, but now it's like, even now I have like 5 calendars integrated on my phone with all the different things that I do. I count for every hour of the day, but it really helps me maximize what I'm able to accomplish.
Those are some amazing skills. So I hope everyone took note of that. Time management, right? Work ethic, ability to take a no, right? And not allowing that to be the end of everything, right? So, wow, you just made amazing pieces of advice. The next question we have for tonight is, what has been the most rewarding aspect of your career? And along that question as well, what are the challenges you've also faced along the way? So this question will be twofold: the rewards of your career, as well as the challenges, some of the parts you dislike, I guess.
For the rewards, this career and it is challenging. And I actually thought about it a couple weeks ago, and I'm doing what really quickly want to do. And I absolutely, and doing exactly what hiring right now, research associates, and that's a good adventure, doing everything before. So it's always something new with this field of research, this career. It's never stagnant, and that's something I was learning from every stage of my life. I don't like complacent, like after 4 or 5 years, and it's change. And so that's what we're doing. That's part of what we're doing. Another thing is I'm doing research that I know maybe years down the line I'm going to have impact on basic science and working robots. But I know it will have an impact. Or when I told my life at the very beginning, I wanted to research that will impact what my family will see. It's going to have an impact sometime down the line. And I've also supplemented, since I know that's a long-term thing, I've also supplemented with some things that I'm working right now. I have a project that's actually with a community partner in Arkansas. So that's how I get to interact with the community, and we're just through as we started it in the next week or so. Doing that. So
That's not how you may feel about it, but if you are in agreement with COVID vaccines or not in agreement, I still had that opportunity to help people, particularly underserved and minority populations, for the majority of the shots that I administer to patients. And just to be able to help people make an informed decision, I never really pushed it one way or the other. If you were interested in getting the shot, I just gave you the information or the facts that I had on it, and you were able to make that decision as to whether you wanted to receive that clearance probably just a week later, to stay upbeat and all of that on schedule with classes. So retail hours were not friendly. I worked in Pine Bluff, Arkansas, because I was with Walgreens. I started out floating for them across the state, and then first position that came available was in Pine Bluff in the Whitehall area. And so I took that position to have steady employment at a steady location. And so I worked as a staff pharmacist, got promoted to being a manager. My hours were like 9 to 7 every day. So you can imagine with having young children, I'm driving 45 minutes to out of Pine Bluff, coming back, and when I get off, I never got off at 7 just because I still have closing duties to do once the door is closed. So when I made it back home, my children were always in bed, or I had missed homework with them. So that was the challenging part of it. And then I was able to move in other positions and got better hours. In my current position, challenges that I face. My position was created just for me. And I say it was created just for me is because I'm the first person to hold that position. I was hired on as a health equity coordinator with Arkansas Pharmacists Association before I transitioned into their director of education role. And that position came about during COVID time. But the challenges I face, not only am I the first person in that position, but I'm the first minority Black female to work at the Arkansas Pharmacists Association. And so that comes with when you're the only person there that looks like you. And even though I'm in a good work environment, there's still times that I feel very lonely. And I've had to have encouragement from people to let me know that I deserve a seat at the table just like they do. And so that's been very helpful advice to give me my challenging times as well as that I do. I'm just as credentialed and qualified as they are to be able to sit at the table and do the work that I do.
I'm going to echo some of the stuff that was said. It is practicing medicine is such a privilege and a responsibility. And what I mean by that, strangers come to you in the most difficult moment and I would say for me, that's a word. It's a heavy burden because this thing goes off at all time of night because people need me. But every time I see someone back and I see that I positively made a difference, someone who couldn't work can now work, someone who couldn't play with their grandkids now can, someone can actually go shop for themselves. They could.
That was amazing, and I think we all know if we paid attention to what's been said, there's been a common trend, which is, this field is very tasking, and so please keep in mind that, and I've heard this as well, that it's not just for the money. I mean, this is a very tasking field, so I think that's something we'll have to consider as well. So one of the last two, this will be the same as the last question before we start the Q&A session. As professionals from different STEM backgrounds, how important is representation and diversity in your field? And what advice do you have for underrepresented students pursuing STEM careers?
I think we all know how it's very important.
Could you please do questions? So we ask this part and then this one.
Not that any of us there now, and so we're in space, it can be kind of lonely. One there, but it's encouraging because when I talk to my business partner or people, I feel like just seeing someone that looks like them, doing the work that we do is encouraging, and so it's very rewarding for that.
Sorry, the latter part was, and what advice do you have for underrepresented students pursuing STEM careers?
Stop. I know they seem like everything we institute to stop you, but if it's your passion and your drive, you gotta grab a hold of it. There are going to be forces against that when we try to stop. There are, accept that. Surround yourself with people who are going to encourage you. Even if it's, like you mentioned, family may say no, it's like, okay, I love you, now I'm keep going on because you know this is something that you're going to do. You know this is something you do. So, surround yourself with people that can encourage you. And you want people that are like-minded for their own drive too, for whatever passion, because that helps you feed off of that. You want to be encouraged, but you also want to encourage somebody else, as well.
I would say this is very, very, very important time for academic changing. I mean, even from the time that Dr. Gorey was in college and medical school, from the time that I was in medical school, we had the med program and all these programs. Diversity, if you look around you, it is under attack. They're trying to change things, and you guys are the future, and you have to establish community together. It starts at this stage. I think I was at UALR, I may have been the only Black pre-med student that was graduated that year. And then coming to UMS, I was able to be even more of 8 or 9 or 10, but then being able to look, because it doesn't just get a whole lot better, but it does change. Coming across AMDPA, it's like, okay, there's some people here. Coming across, Dr. Jonathan Gorey, Dr. Christian Montgomery, Dr. Adam Johnson. You start to get to these environments and you start to identify these are all people that are around, and you learn to really value it. So coming from the land of one is a great thing. You are surrounded by each other. But then 2, you have to practice that skill set of partnering together and then leaning on each other, because when you go to medical school, it becomes an isolating experience, and you have to be able to work with each other. Like Sean is a second-year medical student, and I see him come in. I'm glad to see him. Because medical school can be long and arduous. Residency can be very similar. I'm sure being attending can be very similar. And this is why it's all important. Like, you guys really are going to be building each other up for quite a while. And that is the importance. It helps fill the physician shortages. It helps strengthen each other. We'll all be excited to see you. Like, you all can be on MS. We're going to be like, hey, we're glad to see that y'all got here. And we're going to help try to create the environment for you guys. And it will be up to you guys to do the exact same thing for the high school students that are wanting to come up, or if you're a senior, for the freshmen that are coming up. When you are in med school, coming back to Philander and saying, hey, I'm about to pull you on up too. So it's very, very, very important. It's something you got to identify now.
I'll just piggyback to what they said. It's important to see people who look like you. It helps to build a sense of trust. not only amongst yourselves and your colleagues that you'll encounter, but also amongst your patients. When they can come into a setting and they see people who look like them, it puts them a little bit more at ease and comfortable with being able to really open up about their issues or what's going on with them. And also, as was stated about, not giving up would be some really good advice. I'm like, no, I got to take part of the question. But really just not giving up. If I base my life on how many times I was told go on something or that I would be a pharmacist to this day, if I would have based it on that, then I would never be in the settings and the places and the doors I have walked through, and challenges I've overcome. So it's really important, like I was sharing with a couple of gentlemen, it's an individual walk. And if this is what you want, the career path that you want to do, then you keep pushing till you get there, no matter what the obstacles are. We're in a different political climate now. And so you're different, you may have to revise your strategies, because it's not going to be given to you. But what has been given to us, if you think about it, that we've always had to overcome some challenges or find ways to work around. But the important thing is, again, you don't stop till you get to where you're born. No matter what people say, that they say, I walk in the rooms with them now. But people who didn't think I would be successful in pharmacy school based off of my grades, because they were just average, undergrad grades were just average. Master's GPA, but just based off of test scores. At that time, I was sharing with the young men, we had to have PCAT test scores. I wasn't a good test taker, ever really. I could pass them, but I just never really excelled or scored high on tests. But again, I didn't let that deter me or stop me. I found other avenues to get around that in order to get into spaces that I wanted to be in. And again, building relationships is so important. Not always about what you know, but sometimes who you know to get where you need to
go. I'll try not to have a soapbox, but when we talk about DEI, right, and there are a lot of people right now who are attacking the idea of DEI, right? So my first thing is words matter, and saying that you're against DEI is really easy. Saying you're against diversity, equity, and inclusion is really. So I encourage all of you to say that. I do a fair amount of research at UAMS. I published a lot about equity in payments. And I can say from a science, as a scientist, that medicine, especially pain care, is not equitable for people of color, for women, and for people who have different sexual orientation. That is proven fact. And so, and the reason behind that, or there's many reasons behind it, right? But one reason behind that is the idea of empathy. Pain is a subjective disease state, right? I can't measure how much pain you're in. I have to look at you, and you have to tell me how much pain you're in, and I have to believe you. Because if I don't believe you, it doesn't matter. So part of that is empathy for the patient who's in pain. And it just so happens that because of human nature, people have empathy for people who look like themselves or their family members. And that's why it's important for us to have diversity and inclusion to fix the equity. Because there are hundreds of little Black ladies who in their 70s, who sit in the front row of somebody's church, who I am able to help because they believe in me. And when I look at them, I see my grandmother. And when they see my partner, who is an excellent physician, they may not get the same level. And so that's why it's important for us to be here, and that's why it's important for us to be in every single video, because that affects us in banking.
Students may have your attention, please. The library will close in 30 minutes. The library will close in 30.
You better hurry up.
Thank you.
But it'll affect us in all these different ways. So it's important. As for my kind of tips going forward, I think it's really important to find your people, as someone said before. and to find mentors. Because A, you're gonna face challenges, being potentially the only person that looks like you. And as the pyramid gets smaller, and you get closer and closer to the top, there were a lot of Black kids who were pre-med in my school. There were a few that were in medical school. I was the only one in residency. And in an anesthesia department of 78 people, I am the only one at UAMS for arts. Right? So having people who have gone through that before and know what those challenges look like is important. But then also having people around you who, A, will slap you around if you mess it up, but then B, you can kind of commiserate with. And so I have a dinner that I currently have with 4 Black physicians at UAMS. We have it once a month. Some of the people you named, Corey Montgomery, Sam Greenfield, we all sit down and we just chop it up and talk about the issues we're having. And so find your people, because sometimes you need somebody just to bounce something off of. And unfortunately, not everyone you're around is going to understand you.
Wow, that's hard to say right now. Wow. One more time, can we give it up for our panelists again? All right, so I really do hope we're able to gather a lot of information and advice from this session. It was very substance-filled, so I really hope you grab something. Very briefly, I do want to announce that the announcement that the library will be closing at in 30 minutes is not for us. However, this event will be finishing by 8. But in case you do want to maybe still network a bit further, if any of our panelists are still around, feel free to do so. But for the next few moments, we'll be heading into a general Q&A session. So I'd like to open up the room to any students that have any questions. Yes, ma'am.
While everyone is thinking on your questions, we did have another special guest make his entrance into the room this evening, and then that is the future Dr. Sean over there. I met him today. I had a pleasure to meet him.
Sure. My name is Sean Bryson. I'm originally from Fort Smith, Arkansas. I went to undergrad at U of A in Fayetteville, and I went to the postdoc program at UAMS. So I struggled to get into medical school my first couple of times that I applied. So I have experienced the non-traditional route. If you guys have questions, and I'm a second-year medical student. So that's it.
Thank you very much. And so, yes, so now I'll open the room to anyone who has any questions for our panelists. Okay, so please mention your name, classification, and your question. Yes, if you'd like to.
Hi, I'm Zeno Jones. I'm a sophomore in apology for the psychiatrist. Dr. Evans, I had a question for you for Dr. Evans. But how did you make sure that while you were in medical school, how did you live through those years? You know what I mean?
Okay, so how am I living while in med school?
Yes.
Okay, so, it was fun. I actually still get in trouble quite a bit. I got married in med school. So it really goes back to what Dr. Gorey said. The better you get with time management, funny enough, the better you're also able to use your free time. Yeah, so if you would actually learn how to manage your time, then you can get your stuff done, and then you're able to say, well, my work is already done, so let me go to the movies. Or my work is already done, and I'm off this weekend, so let me go take a trip down to Houston. Or, all of those things. And you just prioritize. Like for me, getting married was one of them. So I was like, my wife was like, you're gonna put me through all this. You can do this. So I was like, all right, well. But yeah, I hope that's the question.
If I had feedback on that as well, like a Google question, but how did y'all stay disciplined to your time management to create it for yourself?
I'll jump on that. So I went to medical school in Manhattan. And I went to medical school in Manhattan because I wanted to, like, I'm gonna be very honest. And I had a great time in my 20s in New York City. But what I did was, I was fortunate that my medical school, especially the first year, we had class from 8 to 1, right? And so most students study at night, right? I'm sure most of you guys study at night. But I just said, what if at 1 o'clock, instead of going, everybody would go play video games, de-stress, I'm gonna go get food, I'm gonna go straight to the library, and I'm gonna study every day from 1 to 5. Because this is a full-time job. And then if I needed to study more, I could, but I was real disciplined about that. And then the other time I committed to study was every Saturday. It's gonna sound insane, that's what I did. I studied from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. every Saturday. But at 8:30, I got to enjoy myself a little bit. And I went out every Saturday night. And so I knew that if I put in these hours, that I would be able to enjoy this time. And so, and then a lot of Sundays I took off because I liked watching football, I liked doing other things. And so it goes back to being, like you said, being disciplined about your time. If you're able to be disciplined and you cut out that, like, what I call flex time, where you're like, nothing is really happening, where you're just kind of chilling. I did a good job of cutting that out of my life in middle school, where I was studying, or I was out. And that is what helped me be successful.
That was an amazing question. Okay, exactly.
To piggyback off of that question, do you regret spending?
Students, may I have your attention, please? The library will close in 15 minutes. The library will close in 15 minutes.
I feel like that first 15 minutes was short. Anyway.
So I also do that, like that 9 to 5 approach kind of thing here at Ranger. But I always make sure to reserve my weekends, like keep them free, right? Do you ever regret like using most of your weekend studying?
Honestly, it wasn't most of my weekend. It was like, I mean, it was most. It was
not that Saturday.
Yeah, it was most of my Saturday. I mean, I think I don't regret. I don't regret it because it really helped me get to where I am. And believe me, I had a lot of fun. And so having that, like, but I knew I had to put the work in at some point. And I knew that I wasn't the smartest person in my medical school. So I knew cramming for me wasn't going to work. And so I had to stay up with the work. And by scheduling time for me to do that was the way for me to be successful. I didn't graduate at the top of my class. But I did. Exactly. But I made it, and I did well enough to get into the field that I wanted to get into.
You have to add some commentary to your statement. Would you emphasize the fact that you were in New York and that the night didn't start in New York until after 8 o'clock?
Night didn't start in New York until
exactly. So that was into perspective how you were able to sacrifice your Saturday.
That's a good point. Yes. The club closed at 4 in New York.
Wait. What do you mean by that? Like, night doesn't start till 11.
Go to New York and you
So you know how in Little Rock, if you're trying to go to a party, you probably need to get there. Like, it'll probably really start at like 9:30-ish. Nah, what's up?
Like usually like 10 or 11.
Okay. Yeah. So in New York, if you go to a club, if you show up before midnight, you're gonna be standing there in an empty room. It starts a lot later, so that gives you an opportunity to
to be able to stay out late. Put it in practical sense. So you said saying 8, you get 8 hours of studying on the weekend.
Yeah.
Right. So your 8 hours maybe 6 a.m. 10 on Saturday, 6 a.m.
Yep.
to 10 on Sunday.
Yep.
So what he said was that's how he calculated his 8 hours of study.
Yep.
So what works for you, maybe it may not be a night out, right? So
Some people maybe 6 p to 10 p.
right.
Some people it may be 2-hour blocks here and there, right? Like everybody's different.
But he calculated his 8 hours, and how he got to that 8 hours that's based on his personality type.
Can I add to that? So my study schedule, I've never been one that kind of that sticks to a schedule. But when you start in med school, you start to feel the pressure of everything, everybody around you studying all the time. So really, I moved here from Fayetteville. I didn't have anybody being around with. So all I felt was that pressure all the time. So I spent all my time studying.
Okay.
And then I realized, okay, well maybe I need to like have a little fun, you know. And so I started studying. I was kind of the opposite of him. I started studying from like 3 to 10:30 at night because I'm a night owl, very much night owl. I don't like communication, real guy, you know. And then Saturdays were my day off. So Friday night I get to study, I go out and have fun. And what he was saying about New York is such a city that never sleeps, you know. Little Rock, you guys till 2 a.m. in the club, you know. And then, but in New York, I mean, you can have tons of fun, do whatever, but your med school friends are going to be on a similar schedule, you know, they're not studying. So they're with friends and they're like, we're going out tomorrow, you know? So it's like, it's very much, you can set yourself up to be where you need to be. You know how your deadlines are, you know, even that pressure is going to be there.
Yeah, I'll piggyback. I was, instead of the 8 hours on one day, I was like, I'm gonna wake up at 6:30 and start studying at 7 on Saturday and Sunday. So I'm done by then. Because my wife wasn't getting up until like 11 or 12, and if I woke up, she'd be mad. So I was like, well, I ain't doing nothing until noon anyway. So I'm gonna just wake up. And what I realized is, and I'm not a night owl, I'm an early bird. So I was like, well, if you wake up around 6:30, anybody doing nothing, your friends don't want to do anything, like, oh, no way. So what exactly are you doing in the morning? Study. And so that was kind of my strategy. I became somebody that wake up early, and it's the same concept. You're gonna get your 8 to 10 hours in studying the weekend. That's the key. When you're an undergrad, you might study the weekend. You're not gonna be in any graduate program and not use your weekend at some point to study. So however you break it up, for me, I'm gonna wake up early, I'm gonna be done by noon. And then I get the rest of my entire day off. I did the exact same thing on Sundays. So that's how we're gonna work.
Ask for help. Evan is actually my tutor, one of my tutors.
Oh, wow.
I have like 2 or 3 tutors. Crazy. I'm like, asking for help is probably the biggest thing that I wish I had known in undergrad. Because if I didn't have undergrad, I wouldn't have struggled so hard to get in. You know, so it's ask for help. Even if you aren't sure you need it, I don't ask for help anyway.
I think you even like find a tutor in like
med school
as undergrad, honestly.
Well, they like those like little orientations that you can go to and start in school. They're actually really helpful. They'll give you all the information that you need. I was listening hardcore because I was like, okay, like I don't know what I'm doing. Like nobody in my family was in this position before, so I have to figure this out on my own. And like what's Dr. Booth's title? Yes, the Student Success Center came in and they were like, okay, sign up for tutoring even if you aren't sure you'll need it. And I was like, so immediately. So best decision I could have ever made. It's almost like it's like legal cheating. You know, they teach you exactly what you need to know in a fraction of the time. So.
Absolutely. I did that in undergrad. I got my degrees by going to people that already took the classes and being like, what do you know that I don't know? We ain't even started yet, but you got A, I want A. So what you know that I don't know? So whether or not you can think you're gonna need the help, that's beside the point. Go make friends with people that already know the game. Like that's the biggest thing that I did. Like I knew I wanted high board scores, so I made friends with people that got high board scores.
I made friends with people that were near the top of their class. And I was like, well, what you doing? And then they gave me their dicks. They gave me their stuff. And I'm like, it's not rocket science anymore, it's just birds of a feather flock together. And you start to find your folks. And so if you make friends with a bunch of people that's not really gonna study for real, you're probably not gonna study for real. But if you make friends with people that's gonna be like, hey bro, we gonna hold each other accountable, like me and my buddy Quincy, we made bets, like if I got better on a test than him, he owed me drinks. If he got better than me, I owed him drinks. So it's like we really kept each other going. So you gotta, if you're serious about it, when y'all get to where you're at, however, y'all need to motivate each other. Y'all will motivate each other. Find friends that's on the same tip. Y'all.
So I want to say, from this perspective, you're in school, and then graduate school, it was the kind of same thing we're offered to do. As I mentioned, I was a teacher for 6 years, so I was out of being a student for 6 years. And I was going back to grad school, I was scared to death. I didn't think I would be able to do it. So they offered tutoring for grad students, and at one point they were like, well, first you gotta take your first test, and then we'll decide if you need it. I'm like, no, I needed day one. So I was able to get your tutor when you can, and to help me make sure you know that first test. And also the same about having those people that can study with. We had, for 6 or 7 of us that would study together. At every test, regardless of how we passed or failed, we went out to celebrate, because we worked hard to get to that point of passing the test.
You know, it was mentioned earlier, I think you said it, this idea of humility. And I still ask for help every single day to this day. You know, I have pharmacists who I call when I have medical questions about medication and dosing. I have physicians around the country who I call when I see things that I've never seen before. And so this culture of making sure that you ask for help along the way is one that I would suggest really going and go ahead and implement in your life, because you know, I always feel like the minute I think I know everything, it's time for me to die. So it's like keep learning every single day, and other people around you, you know, there's always somebody who knows more than you.
It'll change your life. There was great undergrad that I was homeless for a couple months, 2 or 3 months. But I didn't know what to do. My roommates moved home, I couldn't afford to rent by myself, you know, I didn't know what to do. I never asked for help, which I would have asked for help. So the multicultural center, UVA, took care of me in so many other ways without me even asking. But I also want to shout out Ms. Kim. Ms. Kim was instrumental in the post-bac program for kind of taking me under her wing and okay, take care of this, we take care of this, stay on your grades, everything, because I just didn't know what I was doing. I was first generation, you know. My parents were glad that I made it to college, you know. So it's just ask for help, you know, just do it.
Where we are on our own.
Yeah, I don't know if this is principal too for your classes. Say you take 2 of your classes. Each class, do you have different instructors for a test? So that was something that shocked me. We had 3 exams for the class, and each exam they had 10 different instructors. So sometimes you still feel like you can, once you learn the instructor, you can, test based on your teaching style. But you got 10 or 12 instructors for one exam. Do that. So that was a part that, you had to, it could happen for tutoring to help you navigate. They bring a specialist, so you say you have a class, I don't know, the topic could be molecular biology. They're gonna bring in the professor who is a specialist in molecular biology. Then you may have a different instructor in the next class. And so what they do is they submit all of their questions for the exams, and then you do one exam that has 10 different teachers.
Okay, so I see we have a question here.
Did y'all find time for, where did y'all find time to work? And if you did, what kind of jobs?
So for grad school, we are expected to work in the lab. So we take our classes in the morning, they're probably around noon, we're done, 1 o'clock. And then we do, even that first semester we do rotations. So you decide which labs you will take, you really different labs, you decide which one you want to do. And, now they have the second semester, you work in the lab, so you're being paid a stipend. So you're not supposed to have a job. Your job is school and go to the lab. Hours wise, the professors are supposed to be understanding the fact that those first 2 years you have to pass your classes, because if you don't pass your classes, you can't stay there and have to do research for the next 5 years. So, I'm totally surprised. So, they're not supposed to keep you there long doing the research, just say that, but that's not always the case. Sometimes you're coming in, you may be staying there at 10 p.m., sometimes you want to do it on weekends. So, managing time, I did not say anything about managing time because I'm still learning. You know, it was difficult in grad school because you had somebody else kind of dictating your time. And we look at both sides.
You have a question?
I have a few things I want to touch on. Yeah, I have a few things I wanted to touch on. The first one being about finances, the second one about mental health, and the third one was to take on the opportunity to try to connect our STEM program, possibly even with this program, just to kind of further more opportunities for minorities as well. The first one kind of ties into her, but coming as a first generation college student, even a low income background, it is a concern on how you can even afford school, graduate school, and stuff like that. So I want to see if there's any resources or anything you guys did to kind of help, afford school or kind of manage through it as well.
So for the graduate school, the PhD, they cover your stipend, your tuition, for the most part. Especially if you go to an institution that does not have undergrad, if you have the institute and undergrad, you need the TA. So you do teach assistant and research. But they can cover it for the first 2 years, and it's up to the professor to cover the stipend and the tuition for the rest of the time. So the professor in the lab has to have grants, 9 times out of 10, so they usually won't accept a student unless they have grants. Also, there are opportunities for you in grad school to find your own grants. It is encouraged to do that. We want to encourage people to use those resources to come another way, but also helps to build up your grant writing history, so it's kind of you to develop your own lab as well.
Is there anyone else that wants to touch on that?
Yeah, I don't mind. First of all, I'm really proud of you, Grandson, asking that question because in medicine, especially, you're kind of trained to really just do it for the altruism and try to help people, which I'm all about, but we really don't talk about financial literacy. And that's why a lot of doctors actually get in financial trouble because they really don't practice. You get out and then you get really excited and buy a bunch of stuff. I always had a job going through, which was hard because it takes a lot of time management to do that. During the summers and undergraduate, I always worked in medical school. I had a small side job. But then I took out a lot of loans for medical school. And when I left medical school, I had about $200,000. I was very fortunate that I picked a specialty that is relatively well compensated in medicine. Also, there are programs currently that you can join that can help you with your loan payments. So, for example, if you work for a nonprofit organization, right now there's student loan forgiveness, and if you work for that organization for 10 years, your loan is forgiven. So, you do math, I've worked at UAMS for 11 years, so thank you to Joe Biden and a whole bunch of people. I don't have loans, but I also was very aggressive about paying them back. So I would say for the most part, the biggest challenge is if you take on the burden of student loan debt, people who really get in trouble are people who don't finish medical school, because the benefit of being a physician is you normally make enough money that you can handle that level of student loan. So I would say, if you decide to do it, I agree it's a big decision. It's hard to sign your name on that much debt, especially at 21 or 22 years old. Like I did. But at the end, if you look at the opportunity costs of like the money that I spent and the money I make now, it was worth it.
I would also say check for scholarships, through different programs too. I know in pharmacy school, loans were an option, that I even had myself. But I also had scholarship opportunities that were offered by the College of Pharmacy, just from being like a rural area, unserved area, I got money in the debt. Being a member of AMPA as a student, they blessed me with a nice scholarship, to assist me financially as well. AMPA, free student membership, just putting it out there for y'all. So that was an avenue, so I would say check your scholarship out.
And, sorry, yeah, real quick, to add to like your question, also pose a question of my own. I kind of developed, so sometimes high school students will like ask me if, going into college and then their post-grad, and then like towards the post-grad and, like if they want to go to med school or dental school or pharmacy school, they'll ask me like, I don't know about if I want to do this because of the cost. And in response, I started to develop this method, where I tell them, measure, it's basically risk analysis, where I tell them, if you're not gonna make so the debt is fine as long as you can make, hold on, let me phrase myself. Okay, so if your total is less than 1.5 times your starting salary, then you're going to be okay. True. Because you will be able to get like that in less than a year, or a year and a half. Year and a half starting salary, then if you can cover your debt, you're good. There's nothing you need to worry about. Once you get to your debt being twice your starting salary, that's when you have to start worrying. That's like the general rule I go by. I wanted to ask you guys if that's like a good basis.
Yeah, I think it's good. I mean, just even taking it just at face value, use real numbers, like $200,000 in medical school loans, you're able to come out as a physician making, it's not too out of the realm of imagination for a physician to make $250,000, right? And you pay that off in 10 years, you're looking at probably paying about 30,000 of that a year, with interest and everything. So that means out of your, Uncle Sam is gonna take 100 of that, so you got 150. And then 30 of that is gonna go toward your loans, and then you got 120 to buy a house and do whatever you like. So, yeah.
I just found out at UAMS, they have a limit of the amount of money that will take out of some students working into. It's in case you're wondering, and that includes undergrad loans. So you can still find other loans, even private loans, but they're gonna be a little bit more expensive.
I do want to mention that it is 8 o'clock, so I do want us to honor the time, I guess. So this would be around the wrapping up session. So I know you have two portions of your question, and I did see a hand. Yes.
So I was just gonna say, just piggyback off of what, Sean mentioned about scholarships and what Dr. Battle talked about scholarships. I worked in the College of Medicine for, maybe 2 or 3 years, and I see where they have scholarships available. No one, minority took advantage of these scholarships. No one.
Wow.
And took advantage of it, of the scholarships. They would say, oh, I didn't have time, and they're begging to get the money out, to disperse money out to, medical students. The students never takes the time out and say, oh, I forgot about it. Oh, I don't want to put in the work, write an essay. Or get a letter of recommendation. The money's out there, it's up to you to do the work. So it's up to you to apply for the scholarships. I see it every day. I work in the College of Health Professions now where we have waivers. We give like in-state waivers now, so that's another thing to look at. Look at what kind of waiver did you give. You think I talked to someone from Texas. Like if you want to go to apply to medical school, and like we have waivers. Our waivers cover our border states. Our border states are Texas, Oklahoma, Tennessee, so look into those. We have waivers for those, for border states. So it's out there, it's all about you putting in the research.
And to keep on more of a realistic side, I want to discuss on mental health. And I'll use my girlfriend for example. She's a behavioral technician for autistic kids. So it could be a bit of a difficult challenge when trying to manage that job and also school. And I would love for you to touch on, because I'm more concerned about having the energy and the mental health to kind of interact with family and do things outside when you're back home. So I wanted to see how you manage that when you had two kids that lived in school and had a job. How do you kind of manage that and be able to work on improving your mental health?
So I'll say this, you have to detach from school, from work, and you have to put in family time. That's something that you have to do without sharing with Dr. Boris, because sometimes my kids say, oh, Mom, you always gone, but when it's their time for me to put in, it's their time. It's times that I have to sit still. I've learned how to say no. And it's okay to tell people no sometimes, or it's okay to delegate, or, ask somebody else, well, hey, I need to do this with my family, with my kids, I need to put in time. We also were talking about it, we have no shame. I don't think Dr. Gordon mind me sharing his business over here, but he has an executive coach, and I have a therapist, yes, a therapist that I have to have time to talk about what's going on in my life, because life is always life and for all of us, and there's nothing wrong with that. We gotta keep our mental health in check before we can help others, and that's family included, patients, and whoever else. We have to make sure that we are in top condition to help others before we can help others. So that's the one thing that helps me is dedicated family time. Even if it's not that much, just whatever you can give really makes a difference. It's okay to say no. And then if you need somebody to talk to, get you a therapist or a go-to person.
Okay, thank you. And the last thing was, I want to take on the opportunity to try to connect with someone who manages this with our STEM program. Our STEM program is called RCMAX. Me and Jessica are actually co-leaders for that program. We have Don and Ryan part of it as well. So I just want to say that out there in case anyone want to connect with me, or if I could get any emails or any links to try to reach out to kind of create further opportunities for minorities, even at the school as well.
I have 2 business cards. And I Doug and Pam, so y'all welcome to it. As my cell phone number, you can call or text me. Just identify yourself, like I told you, because it's spam and telemarketers and everybody else texting them. So, yeah, but y'all are more than welcome to my phone.
All right, so that concludes the Q&A session. So and another round of applause to the panelists as well. And last but not least, I also do want us to give a huge round of applause to Ms. Ursula as well for helping us with these projects. So I really want to say a big thank you to everyone for coming out. At this point, we're free to dismiss. I think, yes, it'll be through that door. If you still want to stick around to connect with any of the panelists, with Sean, or with any of our distinguished guests here, please feel free to do so.
I think there's gonna be plenty of food left.
Yes, and also please sign in as well.
I forgot to thank Mr. Lewis. Okay, is it Dr. Lewis or Mr. Lewis? He's the one that got the speakers and paid for the food. Mr. Lewis took it.
I don't know if it's Mr. I don't know if it's Mr. or Doug.
I don't either, but like he did so much for this event. I just thank him personally. We can just thank him personally.
Oh, I'm sorry, one last thing. Can we give a big round of applause to Mr. Lewis as well for helping us with this event as well?
Me too. This is fun.